Three, two, one. Hi everyone, welcome back to another History Live interview. Today is extremely special because we are live from an excavation site in Egypt. We are live today from Jebel Silsila, and my guests are an Egyptology couple and archaeology couple. They are a force to be reckoned with and are currently excavating at Jebel Silsila. And they are finding some amazing things. They are, of course, John Ward and Maria Nilsson. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hey, guys. How are we all doing?
We're all great. We're all great. I am loving where are you at the moment? Tell me where you are.
Literally moored up on the Nile on our motorboat beneath the Nile, what we call the Nile Stellae. Unfortunately, you can't see them. All you can see is the Nile behind us, but you can see part of the east bank of the site.
We actually tried to make a beautiful scenery for you and sit on top of our motorboat, but with the 42 degrees that we got in sun, it was just the sweat started to pour, and yeah, we said it's probably more pleasant for you to have us cooler than baking up there.
Tell the truth, it was you who couldn't stand it.
Well, I didn't want the face just to disappear. No, so everyone could see how I really felt.
Well, you're both looking great. The background's looking great. I have to say this is the best setting I've had for an interview. For sure. So, how happy are you both to be back at Jebel Silsila after such a long break?
Well, it hasn't actually been that long break.
Not allowed to tell them that, but yes, it hasn't been that long a break for us.
We actually skipped over here in June and fought 55, 56 degrees Celsius at that point for a quick month's field work. But before then, of course, as everyone, we've been limited due to COVID.
Yeah, I mean, COVID's kept us in Sweden since
November 2019.
Well, we came home, didn't we? We came home in November 2019, and we had to cancel the spring season of 2020
and the autumn
season of 2020. But we had a spring season of 21, so we're more fortunate than most missions in Egypt that we were able to get out here, even though it was scorching hot, as Maria said. It was 50+ degrees every day.
It was an experience, wasn't it?
It was good fun, and we had Nat Geo with us filming for the new season, which I think it's been aired now in Europe and America.
I think it's just America.
Is it just America?
Yeah.
I think the first episode has just been aired.
Yeah.
So that was a bit fun. It was a bit hard for them as well because there wasn't any international missions here. It was just us. Mm-hmm. So it was a bit of a mismatch, but we managed to get some cool stuff done. So
exactly, you guys are the star of the show.
Thank you.
So what drew you?
Yeah.
What drew you guys to excavate there?
Oh, that's a long story. It was actually by accident that we ended up at Silsila, and I was a doctoral student at the time, and I contacted John, who was running a local tour company. And I needed help to visit certain sites in Egypt, and the only way to do that was actually to go on the Nile.
The truth again is that she was tight.
Yes.
Didn't have any money, was a student, and wouldn't afford to pay for the 5-star hotels that I recommended, but instead wanted to float down the Nile on a felucca. And it was actually, all jokes aside, it was the only way that Maria could get to see the sites for more than an hour, because back in those days we had the convoy system.
Yeah.
So the convoy system was you got dropped off at the temple, you had an hour at most, and then you back into the convoy onto the next temple. You were not allowed to stay behind. So the only way out of that was to visit temples from the Nile. That way we weren't restricted by the police and we could stay as long as we wanted.
So 3 days in on our little journey on this felucca, the captain turned around, and remember we just met 3 days before we ended up here.
Okay, so John was on your felucca. John was on your felucca with you.
Yeah, he
Yes.
came with me. So the captain.
His eyes.
The captain turned around and he said, "There's some pharaonic there. Do you want to go and see?" And we had time, so we popped over, saw the spears, and like everyone, it was a nice experience. But then we walked into the quarries and we saw these engraved quarry marks and symbols, for better reason. And we started jumping up and down like little kids, seeing something that we really, really wanted to see. And completely unexpected. John working with Freemason and Mason marks before,
Templarism.
and I worked with symbolism as part of my PhD. And it was the quarry marks that really got us started. And that day, which is now 14 years ago,
A lifetime.
we made a promise.
You don't even look 40.
You see?
Yeah.
See?
Well,
It's my youthful looks that give it away.
Yeah. No. No, but we made a promise both to the site and to ourselves that we would return and we would dedicate our life to try to decipher these quarry marks. And as part of that, we gained access to a site that made us fall in love with both the site and each other. So there you go. It's a wrap for that.
And certain other things happen, but say no more. What happens in Egypt stays in Egypt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, don't cry there, Curtis.
All right, I'll scratch the next question.
What was the next question?
There wasn't one, it's okay.
Okay, cool.
So I'm going to try and divide the questions between you both, just so you both get time to shine. I know John likes to shine, but we need to give Maria some spotlight.
I'll go to the other end of the boat, shall I?
No.
The sun, and you continue to shine.
So Maria, did you always want to become an archaeologist as a kid? Were you like always that kid in the back garden digging?
Yes. Yes, I actually was. I always, when all the normal kids went home, I went out on the fields and I looked for flint, and I pulled back a load of flint and I explained to my parents what they were, and if I didn't know, I just pretended and made something up. But
like most archaeologists.
Yes, and then I think I made a trip to Greece as an early teen, and I returned, and it was then when my dad said, I knew that day that you were going to be an archaeologist, because all I could show from the trip was stone. So yeah, it's always been my destiny. It's always been my path. It was just a matter of how do I get from A to B. So
okay, so you fell in love with the ancient world from Greece. That's quite interesting.
no, Greece helped me get there. It was a stepping stone. Okay. But yeah, Egypt was always the main interest. So it was just a matter of combining what was available education-wise and so forth. I wasn't prepared to study Egyptology, so I went down the road of ancient history, with of course with Rome and Greece as the main components, but I always had Egypt as part of that, so I studied the Ptolemies, and I got the Egyptian side of things in that way. Yeah.
So what is it about being covered in dust and discovering something ancient that excites you?
Well, everyone wants to be dirty, don't they?
Oh, I let her shine. And she comes out with remarks like that. Wonderful.
No, I mean, there's something so fundamental. I mean, when you sit there and you brush or you dig or whatever method you use, and you take out an artifact or a person, a skeleton that has been buried for thousands of years, and you're the first one that recover it. And by doing that, we're able to add a piece of history that no one knew from before, and it adds to the history of this site in particular. So of course, being able to participate in changing history on a daily basis, it's amazing.
Yeah. And John, how did you become interested in this field of work? Was it from the tour agency, or was it something that was always there?
Oh no, it was always there. The tour agency was a stepping stone. Even as a kid, I was playing out in the bombed out houses in London and digging in the River Cray, and the entire village where I lived in a block of flats that was built on the ruins, the remains of the village of St Mary Cray, which was taken out by 2 V2 rockets during the war. And they literally just bulldozed everything into the river. And what was still standing in the 70s when I was a kid. And we used to play in the bombed out houses, and we used to collect butterfly bombs and incendiary devices that hadn't gone off, that the Germans had dropped, all in the river. And
Are you sure you're only in your 50s?
I'm not even in my 50s. I'm in my 30s. I'm in my prime.
No, you just turned 50.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, back in the 70s, you've got to think about it. It's the 70s. It's only 30 years after the war, so it was all still there. But I took early retirement, and I followed my dream, and that was Egypt at the time, and history and archaeology. And as a sideline, I started a tour company, which gave me some spending money and pin money. And that's how I met Maria. And there's no looking back since, really.
He's got no choice.
I have no choice. Did I answer that okay? I tried to keep to your lines.
That's why you're cut off from here. We can't see where Maria's like pinching you. So
no. There's no pinches, handcuffs. That's why I can't lift my arm.
That's a different show, darling.
Oh, okay.
Did any of you experience any hurdles, difficulties starting out in your careers?
For me, it was, I mean, there was no hurdles in starting up as a grad student or anything. The problem in Sweden is that the PhD positions are very few and rare. So that brought me in on the path of writing grant applications already back then, and I haven't stopped. It's just continuing writing grant applications, which is incredibly time consuming, and it takes a lot of energy because you put your soul into these applications, and you're always judged, and of course there's lots of other people that do the same and feel exactly the same, but it's always difficult when you don't reach full way.
And just to add to that, I think it's very disheartening from my perspective as the partner side of things, to see Maria put these hours, days, weeks, sometimes months into these grant applications, only for them then not to actually become a positive result. And not only does that have a knock-on effect on Maria personally, but of course it has a knock-on effect for the entire season, for the team members and so forth, and the setbacks and how we try and get over that hurdle. Because you used the word hurdle in your question. I think that is the biggest hurdle for us.
But part of that is also, I mean, I think the majority of the people that are listening now, they in one way or another have been part of helping us on this journey, and that's where crowdfunding comes in, and we've had incredible support throughout the world to do our work here. But no, there hasn't, in terms of path other than the financial side, there hasn't been anything. It's always been crystal clear, and the path has always been straightforward what to do and how to do it. It's just the means to do it that have been somewhat difficult.
Yeah. I see on your shirts, you know, just to explain to some people, it's Friends of Silsila. So, you know, that is one of the ways that you also help to fund your excavations, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We use it as a means, as Maria said, for Kickstarter campaigns and crowdfunding campaigns. We haven't done any since COVID, really,
No.
but it's something that we'll probably be doing as soon as we get back home, ready for the 2022 season. So keep your ears open or eyes open, ears.
Both of those. So when did you guys first start digging in Egypt?
That we actually started the mission in 2012. We were here, John and I, we were here on visiting permits from the ministry a couple of years before we started as a mission. But then with the revolution, the rules and regulations changed, and they said if you want to return to the East Bank, you have to apply for proper permission. And we went all in, and we were granted the permit to survey, not to excavate, because there were no permits given to excavate in the Nile Valley during that time. So we started as a epigraphic surveying mission in 2012, and then 2015 the old ban was lifted and we were allowed to apply to be an excavating mission, and were granted. So 2015 was the first year when we actually conducted proper excavations, and we started in the stables of Tiberius, didn't we? An administration building from the Roman
seem to forget the main quarry.
Well, that was
the oven.
Yes, but that was more surveying.
No, we did the pottery survey.
Oh yes.
And then we tried to dig the corridor, but failed.
Yes. Well, there was a lot of focus on the Roman side initially, because that was the large project that we were doing at the time, and now it's moved as we learn more and more on the site and we find more and more things. We are of course spreading out chronologically as well, and the first grand dynastic excavation that we did was where was John? He took the opportunity to use and abuse me, or the fact that I was ill. I came down with Egyptian strand of chicken pox, and after, well, I was trying to be stubborn, and I kept on working for 2 weeks with 39 degrees in temperature every day. And in the end, we had a doctor coming to the boat, and he said, you have to be resting, sit here with the drip for a week. So I was grounded, and during that time, John said, woohoo, let's go and dig something that I always wanted to do. And he started to excavate one of the shrines, the private shrines.
It was always written that shrine 32.
31.
31 was non-existent. It had been destroyed in antiquity. And I had this, it was more than a hunch. It was there. I knew it was there. So
well, that's because of the landscape.
Yeah,
that's your speciality. You look at the landscape.
So I was reading the landscape, as Maria said, and I knew it was there. So we got the boys together, and as Maria's already told you, she was laid up, so she wouldn't be out anywhere. So she couldn't tell me what I could do. So we removed the entire bank of the River Nile.
Yes.
And systematically, and there she was, intact with all her statues. Rui Resti, Nefertkaut, they were all there. And
the shrine, not Maria, was lying there.
Well, that's it. Maria did pop down. We were thinking of putting her in there, but unfortunately she got back to the boat too quickly. But yeah, it was an amazing feeling for all of us, because it turned out to be quite a bit of an excavation, because not only was it on the banks of the River Nile, so we continually had the river bashing up against the sides because of the cruise boats, but because the bank was slowly being eroded by that into the Nile, so we had to keep on building it up. Then we had the locals were interested, the local inspectorate was interested, then the Aswan management were interested, and they came down because they couldn't get over what we were finding. And then we finally got into the shrine. Before we hit the statues, we hit this massive 3.5-ton block of stone that was literally hanging over our head. And that's when
I joined.
you joined us. and we had to prop it up with sandbags. So there's me and Maria working with these little dental tools, scraping away, trying to get to the statues that we didn't know that were there yet. And
Whoa.
this big 3.5-ton block of stone could have dropped down on our head at any moment. So Moman with us, he got a hold of a friend at Karnak. They came down with their ships and some rope and some tackle, lifted it by hand.
It was an amazing
To see these guys,
experience.
to see these guys lift this 3.5-ton block of stone by hand, and then rope. And after that, we were literally just able to slice away all the river silt, and there, staring out for the first time in just over 2,500 years, was Neferkount and his wife.
And that's one of those experiences. Most people, they ask us, what's the nicest find? And there's always a lot of things that we have discovered that are wonderful to talk about. But if you look at it from the perspective of the ancient Egyptians, of course, we know that they believed in the eternal soul. And as long as someone uttered your name and, uttered your name and gave you reverence, then their soul would continue to live. So by peeling off those last layers of mud and allowing the sun to once again shine on their faces and being able to read their names, it was such a very
moment.
powerful and almost, I wouldn't say divine, but it was a very, very powerful moment to give them back life.
I mean, there's a lot to be said about archaeology in general and the academic side of things, but when you're working with material that is, 3,500 years old, and as Maria's already said, you're making history every day. We're just this. We're a blip. Literally, we're a blip compared to what we are digging through, compared to what the material that we're working with. And with the ancient Egyptians, one of the things I've always tried to imply upon people is that for them, everything was about eternal life. It was about the legacy. It was about the life after death. That's what it was all about. It wasn't the life itself. That was just preparation for the true life, which was for us death and that journey afterwards. And as Maria says, when we uncovered those faces and the sun penetrated the chamber and lit their faces up and we were able to say their names, it was a moment of absolute ecstasy. For us, probably for them too.
But the same can be said. I mean, I love working with pre-dynastic rock art, and we got a lot of graffiti. It's actually the same feeling when you find something that was engraved so many thousand years ago, with the highest respect of the nature and the surrounding and everything. So there isn't really one thing that outdoes the others. Every experience is unique in its own.
Yeah. And like you were saying, saying the names and things like that, I know so many Egyptologists out there that are very, how do I put it? They're very academically focused and they forget to look at the human side. So I like that you said, you feel the emotion when you open that and saw the statues, because they were real people. Yeah.
Well, for us, Curtis, I think that, and most of the people who are watching will understand that because they've heard us say it before, and that's the beauty about Silsila. Yes, we have all these huge royal monuments here, which are amazing, but Silsila ultimately is a landscape of industrial size. It's an industrial landscape of quarries, and for 3,500 years, it provided the stone that built Egypt, and the people behind that were normal people like you and me.
But they are the people that built Egypt, and it's the normal people that always drives us forward. We want to know about them rather than finding a new. Yes, it's really nice when you find a new inscription from the age of Amenhotep IV that everyone is intrigued by, but it's that everyday person, the normal person, and their regular life, and that respect. I mean, what you said, we do try to bridge Egyptology, archaeology, and anthropology, especially when you're working with the human remains, because when you excavate people that have been buried with highest respect and the belief of an eternal resting place, you have to go in with a sense of exactly that, respect, compassion, and understanding. So it's only by combining the three that you really can treat it the way that it deserves to be treated.
Yeah, indeed. So what would you say thus far has been the most fascinating find at Silsila? Was it that chapel or?
ST42, our water tomb.
Oh, I saw that documentary where you guys went down, you were pumping it out, and then the generator broke. That one, right?
Yeah, it's just because it's so absurd. It's so
disgusting.
It's so morbid. You know, we have this beautiful 5-meter deep shaft tomb with 2 chambers that we've been able to identify, and it's been filled with water since antiquity, probably due to an earthquake or something like that opened up a fissure at the back chamber. And we tried to first start by lifting the material up and having it drying outside, but with the weight of heavy sand and soil, it just destroyed anything. So it wasn't a way to go. So the only way for us to actually work in there was to sit. So we pumped out enough water for us to still have enough to sit in. We sifted everything from the first chamber in the first chamber, and then all the soil went up to dry, and we sifted it again up there. But it's a surreal feeling to work in blindo, because obviously we can't.
Blind archaeology, where you just place your fingers in this gunk that you're sitting in, and you're literally just feeling around with your fingers. Is that a bone? Or, you know, at one point, I remember Ahmed, when he was down there with us, and Maria was there, and one other, and someone put their hand in, and they heard the crack, and it was the actual rib cage of a goat that had obviously fallen in there at some point, and it was a little bit fresh, shall we say.
My God.
And of course we're sat in that. So
but to be added is that it's a mass burial, so we got at least 100 people that we've identified so far, and we haven't excavated the second chamber yet. But the reason why it's such a special find for us is that even if it has been heavily destroyed by nature itself, it is an intact burial. So we got beautiful artifacts that give us the names of certain individuals. We got a quite certain chronological place.
Yeah, we got datable material, and it, as Maria says, you know, it was unopened. It's just a shame that Mother Nature herself destroyed her contents. Mixed them all into one lovely big soup.
But it is a surrealistic experience for sure.
For sure.
What else are you still hoping to find at Silsila?
More names, I would say. Names of the people, names of everyone who at one time or another was here. It's whenever we find a new burial, or when we find new inscriptions and any new material, it's always that wish to learn about the people, and that is the running thread throughout everything we do. We had a team mark or identity mark that was placed on one of the sarcophagus lids that we found the other day, and although it's not the name of the family, it's still that sign that brings us very much closer.
And the sign was given to a child, because the lid belonged to a child's sarcophagus. So, you know, there is a family name there, even though we will never know what that name was, but they placed the mark upon the sarcophagus lid. But I think it's pushing the boundaries of Silsila. It's understanding Silsila, her infrastructure, how she worked from a logistic point of view.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to have all the monuments. It's wonderful to have the tombs, and for that to continue as we continue to excavate in the necropolis and in the temples and so forth. But to understand how all of those related to each other and how it worked over the years, and what was the relationship between Silsila and the rest of Egypt, and that for me is more important now, is understanding that personal link. Yes, you have the elite, yes, you have the royals, but I want to understand the people, how they migrated, the workforce, and how that worked, who stayed here, how the families operated, and so forth.
But it's also to reach out, and I mean, Silsila has been neglected and dismissed for so long as purely a quarry site. And it is to reach out and show people, and I think that we've done quite a good job, if we can say that ourselves, that people are now starting to get aware that there is more to the site than just a quarry.
Because I mean, a lot of people who don't know about what Jebel Silsila is, for watching the first time, obviously it was a quarry where they got a lot of the limestone and the sandstone. I'm not sure.
Sandstone,
yeah. Where they got the stone to build, like sphinxes and statues and temples that taken away from there. But from what you guys are finding as well, is there was a little society there. There were actual temples, and I think you guys have found a temple remains from the age of what could have been for Tutankhamun.
Yeah. No, and it's also, I mean, the temple of Sobek that we're excavating at the moment and have done since 2015. It was completely dismissed because it was destroyed during antiquity. But just because it's destroyed down to the fundaments or to the foundations, we always believe that there is more to learn. So by excavating, we got these fragments. They are in poor condition, and alone they don't give us much material. But by analyzing them and everything that comes out, that we got a pretty good idea of what the temple once looked like, and again, it's bringing back the respect for the site that it deserves.
Yeah. Now you travel to Silsila with your entire family. What do the kids tell their friends back home about their adventures?
Well, it's actually quite fun because each Friday now, our daughter, she's 7 years, and of course she misses her school friends. And the teacher's been very kind to arrange that she can speak to her friends each Friday. And they all want to know about the animals that are here, if they're crocodiles, camels. They want to know about the food, what she does during the day. And of course, there's a lot of questions regarding the pyramids and things like that. So it's nice to see. She shines when she talks about it, but Silsila has always been her home ahead of anything else. When we came back this time, and we were on our way, so we were in Cairo, and she said, "Are we home soon? Are we going home soon?" And she didn't refer to our home in Sweden. She actually did refer to Silsila as her home, and she's done that since she was 2. So
but it's not all positive. It does take its toll, and it's not all sunshine. There are problems that arise from it,
of course.
And Freya's getting older, so she's missing her friends from school and so forth, and we can see that frustration in her. And it's a careful balance between our lifestyle that we've chosen and how we integrate that with the children, and how we integrate that as being parents, responsible parents in the 21st century, and how all that goes together again with the responsibilities that we have for everybody else from Silsila.
And it's special for everyone on the team to live with the family. They have to be prepared to survive the attacks of children, and they're all hugging Freya, who always wants to sit and hug everyone who comes on the boat and make them her best friend. But it's also nice because that side of what she's missing, having friends and being able to move. Just the other day, we had one of our workers, the garden, who brought his oldest son, or his son, who spent the day with the kids on the boat while we were out working, and then he picked him up at the end of the day, and they loved it. Of course, he then, 11-year-old, he started to learn English, and he gets a lot of the language from that side, while our kids get the Arabic.
It's a major cultural exchange,
Yeah.
because, you know, Sweden, for those of you who know, Sweden is a little bit of a closed-off community, let's be honest.
Social distancing
is no problem for us. We cancelled a 2 meter and we've gone back to 3 meter. Does that mean I don't have to talk to anybody anymore? But no, it's a beautiful cultural exchange, because, you know, Freya and Jonathan, they get to share that experience with Abdullah, who came over, the Adam's son. But it's like the other day, they went over with the motorboat with Ahmed and Abdullah over to the other shore, and they saw one of the guardians there, who's one of our workers, so they recognized Ibrahim. And Ibrahim went and got his donkey, and Freya barefooted and Jonathan barefooted, running across the side, jump onto a donkey and go donkey riding across the side. Those are experiences that will live with them forever.
And it's not something that you can do in the modern world anymore.
It's like something out of an Agatha Christie novel. You know,
yeah, I was going to say, there's not many kids that can experience that. I mean, I grew up in South Africa, so I know about, you know, my friend Alicia and I, we used to walk around like in the wild and walk past like rhinos that were literally like 4 meters away from us.
Yeah.
Our parents used to freak out when they found out about that. But, you know, it's those kind of things that are special, because not everyone gets to do stuff like that. And it's going to stay with her.
It doesn't happen anymore.
No.
And that's the lifestyle that we've chosen. So, as I said, there is a careful balance between responsibility of parents, responsibility as the archaeologists, the caretakers.
And with a lot of
Silsila.
help from our nanny,
Yeah,
of course.
and we have great support from family, friends, and Susie and Suna, who are nanny, and also Ahmed and Abdullah, who are the brothers.
Oh, come on, Ahmed,
Freya
just
and
show your
Jonathan.
face. You're here.
Yeah.
Now,
Come on.
you know, so it is that family atmosphere that we create here on site. Say hello.
Hello.
Hello. So, and it's we've created, I would say intentionally, this family atmosphere at site, and that goes through the workers, it goes through everybody who's involved, everybody. We maintain a certain amount of discipline, of course, you have to, because we're a scientific mission at the end of the day. but there has to be a certain amount of discipline and hierarchy. However, there is a level playing field when it comes to the family unit, and all of us are one family, and that's what makes it work. That's why we're a success, because we're able to rely and trust between everybody involved.
Yeah. If you could go back in time to find out the answers to a mystery, what would it be?
What does that have to do with
That's the first thing that came to my mind.
I actually would like to answer the question, what happened to Sobek, as one of our driving questions. Because we know that we have this beautiful crocodile temple, which is so active up till the end of the New Kingdom. And something happens. The latest date we have is Ramses V. And after that, his temple is completely eradicated, torn apart to the ground, and all the images erased. And it's one of those driving questions that we have.
For me, it would have to be the monuments that I've been working with quite closely. To understand, we have a series of monuments, and unfortunately, most of the general public haven't seen them because they're on the East Bank.
Which is opening.
Which will be opening soon, which is something we're working on at the present moment. But there's a string of monuments up there which have certain alignments and certain texts and iconography and so forth. And it would be lovely to understand why they were placed, what their function was, who were they intended for? Because you can't see them from the Nile, you can't see them as foot traffic. You can only see them if you actually go up to them. So they have a function that goes beyond that of the normal monument.
Yeah, yeah. So John and Maria, we're both part of the same documentary agency, which is Past Preservers, and you have both appeared in many documentaries and in the press quite a lot, and of course in Lost Treasures of Egypt. Do you think that documentaries like this still hold firm for youths, you know, to help educate them about the importance of history?
I think one has to answer that in a double answer, really, to be Curtis. Yes, they do, because they reach out to various different audiences, and through those audiences, there are repercussions, there are ripple effects. Mm-hmm. And the reason I'm saying this is there's one example. Back in July, the teacher of a particular school in Pennsylvania had seen us in these episodes of Treasure Guardians, and she reached out to me on LinkedIn, social network, and said, would you consider doing a live stream chat with my students who are currently doing Egypt in their history lesson? And I said, of course, I'd be delighted to. And I said, so how many you got? She said, oh, it's only about 4 or 5. I said, well, yeah, invite as many as you want. So she went back to the school, and every teacher got involved, and the entire school got involved. So we ended up having this entire school on my mobile phone, walking them through site. And I was showing them the site, showing them the excavations, showing what we're doing and so forth. And then from there, we had a question and answer, and every child had already thought of a question, and it wasn't just random. They were well thought out questions, and it was wonderful to see that. So yes, I think it does play an integral part in today's society of getting out there the message that archaeology still plays a fundamental role within our own culture. And if we do not look to the past, we will not be able to know what's in the future.
But it's also, I mean, in connection with everything we do, of course, we have our academic publications, and everything is published properly. But those types of publications, they will never reach the general public and people who are just generally interested, and will not reach the young generation. So it is one way of reaching out that I think it reaches far better than the traditional academic
way. It creates awareness.
Yeah, definitely, because people don't like reading, so you know, let's just watch it. So, John, yes. I have noticed on Facebook you really enjoy waking up super early and taking a lot of pictures of the sunrise at Silsila.
You wouldn't wake up if I didn't throw me on the bed.
The truth comes out.
The truth be known, Maria wakes me rudely every morning at 4:45. And by the time I've got my socks on and so forth, and I reach upstairs and I grab a cup of coffee and a cigarette, I'm sitting there in darkness, waiting for the sun to rise and illuminate the boat. And I take a picture. And I've always done this. For every, I think I started in the first season of what it was when we were here with Adrian. I've always done sunrise photographs. And it's a way of reaching out. For me, it's always been a way of reaching out to people on Facebook and saying, hey guys.
In the process of that, we actually learned about alignments with our monuments.
We learned that the Spears has a solar alignment for the winter solstice. So,
spring
equinox. And but it's just one of those things, and it just become the norm now. I even do it at home when I'm in Hissel, when I remember, and I go outside and I take a picture of the sunrise between the stones and so forth. But yeah, you're not there. You're doing yoga.
Well,
I'm going to start doing that now. Yoga morning pictures. I'm not going to take a picture of the sunrise. I'm going to take a picture of your legs rising or your head. Oh, here I go into the dog position. Yes. Yeah.
That's for the next season of Lost Treasures. So Maria, you appear so fearless and full of courage. Where does that come from?
John is laughing because he usually says that I'm only scared of one thing, and it's failure. But I think that it is just I'm the youngest of four. I've always been protected, safe. I've always been allowed to basically doing everything that I want to do, and always being supported by family. I never been scared of anything.
I can testify to that. This woman is absolutely fearless when it comes to climbing mountains. We hadn't been together that long, and we were surveying the Western Freedom Mountains, and she decided to jump from one pinnacle to the other, slipped, and would have descended at least 180 to 200 meters to her death had I not grabbed hold of her rucksack and yanked her back up.
Well, I might have got stuck on a stone and found an
No, that was
inscription
me when I got stuck on my watch. You came to my rescue. But no, you've always climbed the quarries, so you climb the ladders, you jump pinnacle to pinnacle, and you are fearless in that respect. There's nothing that stops you, doesn't hold you back.
Having children, though, gets you a little bit more aware of what you're doing. Flying off a horse isn't as easy anymore because you're aware that maybe you need those ribs for other things.
Yeah.
But no, it's just who I am.
So how do you both balance, the workload at home and also on site?
They're the same.
Okay.
That's the one thing people don't get. For us, there's no difference. We can be here at Silsila, and we then have that little break that everybody sees on Facebook. They see the kids in the swimming pool, they see us at the marina eating a chocolate donut or what have you.
Talk for yourself.
Those 2 to 3 days, then we're back in Sweden, and for us, it's back into Silsila mode. So
as soon as we get home, it's about, okay, we need to write up the report for the season. We need to write up all the results and prepare for publication. And meanwhile, we need to start the applications for the next season. So it's never.
And then you've got the grant applications as well, and that goes hand in hand with life. And both me and Maria, we live, eat, and breathe Silsila. Our life is Silsila.
Yeah.
There isn't a day that goes by, even Christmas Day, that we are not thinking about.
No, because what John gives me for every Christmas is a new trowel. I get a new brush or a new set of tweezers.
You get a nice dustpan and brush every year. You still moan about it, and the place is still dead. I don't know why you don't get the hint. Brush up after yourself.
Why do that up here?
They're going to buy you a vacuum thing. You can't plug it in over here, so I just get you a dustpan and brush.
What would you both like to be remembered for?
Giving life to Silsila.
And that's what it's about, legacy.
Yeah.
Immortalized.
Yeah.
Well, giving credit to the site.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with that. It is that it's the site.
Mm-hmm.
Being part of its history.
Yeah. Well, John and Maria, this has been so much fun. Before we hand over to get some questions from the audience, I have some quick fire questions for you. Are you ready?
Go for it.
Okay.
They need to be short answers.
Yeah.
You don't know how to do that.
Okay. So we got to decide who's going first, who's going second.
Maria goes first.
First, second. Okay. Favorite artifact?
Carnelian bead from our water tomb.
Shakti.
Oh.
Yes, ST18. The first ones made of mud.
Yeah.
That brought life back to the slaves. Wonderful.
Favorite Egyptian queen?
Arsinoe.
Arsinoe.
Yep.
I have one. Nefertari.
Thank you. Amenhotep or Akhenaten?
Amenhotep.
Oh, I have to have both. Sorry.
It's just because we got Amenhotep the fourth here.
I have to have the entire household of Amenhotep III. Sorry, from start to finish.
Don't be greedy.
No, there's no splitting them.
Movies or music?
Music.
Movies.
If you could go on holiday to one place, no work, no nothing, not Egypt, where is it?
You want to go Cook Island?
There you go.
Well, I got a little bit of a problem there because I can't go on a holiday without seeing something. So
Cook Islands.
no, I
Islands.
would be
1
so,
week,
I
just
would,
1
I would
week,
be
just
so
1 week.
bored.
Beach, blue, beautiful, no work, nothing. Cook Island.
Peru.
Peru.
She's going to be swinging from vines like Laura Croft trying to find a tomb.
It will still be up at 4 o'clock in the morning to take sunrise. Come on, we're going to go see this temple. We're going to go see a pyramid. Let's go. No.
Well, thank you so much to both of you for answering all of these questions and giving us an insight into your life and an insight into the site at Silsila. Now, I'm going to hand over to the audience to ask a couple questions. We'll take a few questions from our viewers live. So whoever unmutes the quickest gets to ask their question first.
I've unmuted.
That was quick.
Good job, Dill.
Well, Vanessa and I both had the same question. Now, Vanessa's had to go, but it was about the cryosphinx. We saw that on the telly program. We just wondered where it is now. Is it somewhere we can go and see it when we come out there?
The two large cryosphinxes, they are still in situ within the quarry. The east bank is still closed for visitors. So you will have to wait until they actually open up, and we're preparing pathways and so forth to make the east bank safe for visitors. The little small statue that we found next the workpiece, the baby sphinx as we call it, that is now in a museum magazine for safety. But it won't be too far in the future that you will be able to go and see the two cryosphinxes in situ.
That's great, thanks. And can I also say thank you very much for those lovely early morning photos, the sunrise. I really love those.
You are more than welcome.
Next question.
Hey, Curtis.
Hi, John.
Right, nice to see you. Thank you for your information. It's very esoteric and quite interesting. Yes, Maria and John, I wanted to know a little bit about, you found something about one of the peppies there? One of the early pharaoh peppies?
We got a cartouche on the west bank that is engraved, and we got a series of graffiti from old kingdom date, but we haven't got any archaeology that we've been able to determine. It's epigraphic, but the majority of what we see is primarily from the New Kingdom, if you want a combination of archaeology and epigraphy.
Oh, that's kind of fascinating. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thanks to Omar behind you.
I love Omar.
Next question.
Hi, Curtis. Hi, everyone. Hi, John and Maria. I have so many questions, of course, but one of the interesting things that you mentioned, that you and Curtis were talking about, specifically children and educating them on ancient Egypt and the history and all of the artifacts and their belief systems, and how a lot of the papers are more academic and that they don't get out into the general public. And you have children, and I know that some of the other Egyptologists have put out children's books, but have you ever thought about putting out a children's book about some aspect of either, just your dig, the story of digging and finding something, or anything like that?
I think we both talked, John worked a lot with youth before, and it's always been one of your passions to reach out to, I got a project in Sweden that might come to fruition soon.
It's timing.
Yes,
Timing is everything. It's finding the time. And as Maria has a project that involves us in Sweden that hopefully will come through in the next couple of months. But it is from writing books and storytelling and so forth that appeals to the younger generation. It's all about time and trying to fit that in. And I think it's something that we're going to be looking at later on towards when things start to wind down.
Well, actually, I think that what we're also waiting for is Freya to get old enough to participate in that, so that she can give her view and her what do you say, her yeah, so that she can participate in the creation of something for children by children with our guidance. But I'd like to see her part of that, and I think within a couple of years she'll be there. She's just getting on with language, spelling and so forth. But within a couple of years, I'd like to see that. Yeah,
it's a great idea.
Yeah, no, I just was thinking of things. There's the whole series about when my kids were small, Magic School Bus, and so the teacher would take the experiential things, and I just think archaeology would be a great backdrop for a kid's story of like John. I can see the illustrations now of John sitting there with his coffee and watching the sunrise, and that's how the archaeologist starts their day, and then yeah, and then all the workers come in and you say hello and you create the characters, you say hello to the certain characters and on your team, and then you go out and you survey things. And
so do you do ghostwriting?
Huh?
So if you do ghostwriting, then let's get together afterwards and let's get this done.
I think that would be a lot of fun. Yeah, I do think that would be a lot of fun. So yes, let's do.
Next question.
No, serious, let's do.
Next question, if anyone has one.
I'm going to ask you sort of general knowledge, John and Maria. It's basically about crocodiles again. Have you seen any crocodiles in your area? I believe there's not meant to be any crocodiles in the Nile apart from Lake Nasser down that way.
Well, other than dead crocodiles that we excavate, no. There are none left on this side. You will have to go south of Aswan.
Okay, and then just something light. Have you thought about speaking to Benny, Bjorn, Agneta, and Anifred about a voyage down the Nile?
That would be something, wouldn't it? On their new arrival, yeah.
Yeah.
No, we haven't. No. I don't think that we would be in their league of communicating. It would be nice.
It would be.
Anyway, do we have one more question from the audience? I think we have time for one more question. With quite a people on, I'm sure someone has one more question.
Okay, I'll ask a question if no one has another one.
I think we talked them all out.
I know that you've had many amazing discoveries of your own, but if you could go back into time and be a part of a dig of another amazing discovery sometime in the past, what would that be and who would that be with?
I think that I would love to be part of Napoleon's scientific expedition. or to go out in the Western Desert to the early explorations of the Geographical Society. I think that's probably what I would answer, yes. To be part of the Geographical Society into the Western Desert.
I would have
Okay.
to choose Armand.
I'm not.
Which one?
I would choose Armand. It was
Ah.
excavated by the EES in the early part of the 20th century, later part of the 19th century, and they completely and totally and utterly 100% dismantled the entire site. And,
Wow.
And you would have stopped it?
I would have stopped it.
Well, that is a
Okay.
great question, Osset. I'm sealing that for future interviews. Okay.
Okay, good. Please do. Please do.
I see Peter has unmuted himself. Peter, do you have a question?
Yeah, just the Friends of Silsila. How can you join that?
Yes. Can we put that information up with you, Curtis? Maybe.
Yeah, send me all the links that you want to include, and I will put that in the video, in the
Brilliant.
descriptions, all of that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Perfect.
And John and Maria, other explorers apart from Napoleon, who do you admire?
Well, for me, it is, of course, all the people that were part of the Geographical Society, especially when you go look at the epigraphers. I love rock art and rock inscriptions, and of course any of the early travelers that dared to step their foot in the dangerous deserts and to fully just live the adventure. It's pretty much the spirit that we live by, and I think looking at the Geographical Society and all their associates, they capture that soul.
I think it has to be said there, and just to put an end on that, is that a lot of you probably aren't aware that both me and Maria, prior to Silsila, literally traversed on foot the entire Western Desert of the Western Saharan Desert, from the Gulf of Kabir all the way up to the shores of the Med, and that's where we spent.
Well, we haven't walked every single meter.
Not every single meter, but you know, we traversed the trade routes, and that's what we did. We retraced the trade routes all the way.
And that was part of I mean, following the symbolism. After getting to Silsila the first time and learning about the quarry marks here, that sparked the interest to see how symbolism has emigrated
geographically and through time.
Yeah.
Is there also a town nearby where you get your supplies from?
Well, we got Komombo as our closest proper town. So once a week we
go shopping.
Well,
we don't.
Our beloved Abdullah does.
Yes, and he comes back fully laden with all the goods and goodies.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you, John and Maria, so much for taking the time to answer the questions from everybody and just to share your stories with us. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
You're more than welcome.
Thank you for the interest in allowing us to.
Yes.
Of course. Anything I can do to help, I'm here. So send me those links and they'll appear somewhere.
Excellent.
Brilliant.
Excellent.
Great, great. Well, thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, John and Maria. Safe digging.
As always.
Ciao. Bye.
Thank you all so much. Thank you.